Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're going to be taking a look at the downfall of Hasbro. And maybe this is going to be Games Workshop's future as well. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so today we're going to be breaking down the Hasbro Iceberg. Essentially Hasbro, the companies underneath it, what is going on with like the scandals that happened this year, and then of course the massive losses that Hasbro is looking at for 2023, and also the potential that it's actually going to go bankrupt. So we're going to try to keep this relatively short. It is going to be packed with some pure data as well as some opinions from other people in the space. We're going to hear what they have to say and then potentially dispel some of the rumors or just try to help actually educate people as to what's really going on. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Hey, this is going to be a real bummer of a video, so if you're not up for that today, totally skip this one. But it's something that I kind of feel like I need to make a video about because I'm not seeing a lot of people talking about it on YouTube yet. Mostly a lot of discussion on Twitter, and we do have this post from Will, D&D Shorts. Hasbro are firing another 900 people. And I want to cut it off right there and actually say, according to everything else, I've seen it's another 1,100 people. WotC folk included right before Christmas. No warning at all, man. Imagine not even holding out to the new year so these people could have Christmas. Corporations don't care. I hope those who got hung out to dry today will find work soon with better, smaller teams that will treat them with the respect they deserve. So we're going to take a look at this article about Hasbro. Hasbro has shares dip on layoff announcement and industry woes. And this is from December 12th, 2023. Hasbro Inc. has recently announced plans to lay off approximately 1,100 jobs, 20% of its workforce, amid the ongoing challenges in the toy industry. Following the announcement, the company's shares fell 5.5% during the after-hours trading session on December 11th. The news follows on the heels of an earlier cost reduction strategy involving 800 job cuts in 2023. The company aims to potentially save up to $300 million annually by 2025. So they're essentially cutting about 1,900 jobs in 2023 total, with hopes that they're going to save about $300 million annually by 2025. And there's a very important reason they need to save this $300 million, and we'll get to that. Hasbro has been grappling with declining sales post-pandemic lockdowns. Global consumers are contending with elevated inflation, leading to cutbacks in non-essential spending in categories like toys, electronics, home goods, and apparel. Also, price cut implementations to clear stock, owing to weak demand, are amplifying the company's challenges. Per the Circana data, toy sales in the United States from January through August 2023 were down 8% year over year. So remember that. That's one of their main excuses. Toy sales are down 8% year over year. Hasbro CEO Chris Cox acknowledged ongoing challenging market conditions and foresees continued hurdles through the holiday season, potentially extending into 2024. Dismal 2023 view. For fiscal year 2023, the company expects revenues to decline 13 to 15% year over year, compared with the prior expectations of 3 to 6% year over year. So again, very important, they're expecting a decline of 13 to 15% for the fiscal year 2023, which only has one quarter left. We'll talk about that shortly. Yeah, it's just sad. And I want to talk about this because when the OGL controversy happened, that was very sad, and you couldn't get away from news about it. It was being talked about by huge gaming YouTube channels that don't normally ever talk about D&D, and it was on mainstream news. I'm pretty sure it was MSNBC and even NPR did a piece about the OGL controversy. It was wild, and sadly I don't think this is going to get nearly that amount of coverage because at the end of the day, it's just another big corporation laying off a ton of people. So in order to really understand Hasbro, let's take a look at their actual key facts and a little bit about them. So their current market cap is $7 billion. They pay a little over a 5% dividend. They were founded in 1923, and they have a total amount of employees as of today's date of 6.5 thousand. And keep in mind that they will have cut about 2,000 employees by the end of the year with these cutbacks. So a little bit about their history. Again, founded in 1923, Hasbro Inc. engages in the provisions of children's and family leisure time products and services, with a portfolio of brands and entertainment properties. The firm's brands of toys include Power Rangers, Magic the Gathering, Monopoly, My Little Pony, Nerf, Play-Doh, and Transformers. It operates through the following segments: consumer products, Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming, entertainment, and corporate and other. The consumer product segment markets and sells toys and gaming products around the world. It also promotes brands through the out-licensing of trademarks, characters, and other brands and intellectual property rights to third parties, and through the sales of branded consumer products such as toys and apparel. The Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming segment promotes the company's brands through the development of trading cards, role-playing, and digital game experiences based on Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast properties. The entertainment segment develops and distributes entertainment content including film, scripted and unscripted television, children's programming, digital content, and live entertainment. The corporate and other segments include the management and administrative services to principal reporting segments. The company was founded by Henry Hassenfield and Hillel Hassenfield in 1923 and is headquarters in Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
Gaming, I think, is basically, we're talking about Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. Now, there might be some board games and things in there, but I think those are our two big ones. And honestly, what we've seen consistently over the past few years is that Wizards of the Coast has kind of become the golden goose at Hasbro. The thing that's pulling in the most money for them is whatever they have invested in, the products coming from Wizards of the Coast. Now, Magic the Gathering has kind of always been something that prints money. That's just kind of how card games and things work. And in the past, Dungeons and Dragons was kind of like a small little aspect of the company, but as we've seen over time, has grown significantly to become one of the biggest breadwinners for Hasbro.
So now we're going to take a look at the revenue breakdown, and this is going to break down our revenue streams and regions that the business earns money from. So we see there are 3 segments in it. The first is the consumer products, and that is the largest segment. It's 61%, and that is $3.57 billion worth of revenue. The next is Wizard of the Coast and digital gaming, which is $1.32 billion, and that is 22.6%. And then finally, the smallest portion is entertainment, and that is 16.38%, $959 million. So just under $1 billion. And then if we just look over here by country, we'll see that there are 2 main segments, international and United States. So in the United States, that is 60.5% of their revenue, and that is $3.54 billion. And then the international segment is $2.31 billion, and that is the other 39%.
And to see that they're laying off a variety of people from Wizards of the Coast just feels really wrong to me. Obviously, notwithstanding the fact that you're laying off all of these people 2 weeks before Christmas, which is obviously not a great way to go about it and a real bad look for a company that really needs to do the best they can to prove that they're not as horrible as we think they are and doing a pretty bad job of it. But you're also laying off people from the things that are basically helping to keep your company afloat. And I don't understand the business logic behind that, but either way, I'm not a corporation. So
now we're going to take a look at Hasbro's financials, which is our growth and profitability. And just to get a rough idea, we're going to take a more in-depth look in a minute here. We have for 2018 revenue of $4.5 billion, net income of $222 million with a roughly 5% net margin. We then see in 2019 about $4.7 billion, $520 million in net income and about 11% margin. And then we see 2020, $5.46 billion, $222 million income and net margin of 4%. 2021, $6.42 billion in revenue, net income of $428 million and 6.6% net margin. And then 2022, we have revenue of $5.85 billion, $203 million net income and net margin of 3.48%. So we see the real outlier here is 2019 because the 11% net margin allowed the net income to be $520 million, as where most of the other years we see net margin about like 3 to 5% and around $220 million in net income. Again, with another outlier here in 2021 with a slightly higher net margin and also slightly higher net income coupled with a slightly higher revenue.
Chris Cox first stepped into the role of Hasbro CEO in February 2022 and now earns an annual salary of $1.5 million. That's probably pretty typical for CEOs. I really don't know. But he received $9.4 million in total compensation last year. So when they talk about it being such a hard position to cut the jobs of these 1,000 plus people, I just can't take that seriously at all. Because this is just one guy. The leadership team in general is probably a single-digit number of employees who make like half the money. Or I should say, consume like half the money that the rest of those employees are actually generating for the company.
And I'm definitely not defending the CEO compensation or anything like that. We'll see in a minute that if a company is not doing well, the CEO definitely shouldn't be getting compensated substantially over their actual salary. It should be performance-based, but that, like anything, can be a double-edged sword as well. But the truth is, for a company with $5.85 billion in revenue and net income of $203 million, you have to expect that a CEO is going to get a nice chunk of change. And $10 million definitely is a lot of money. But without the company, without the CEO, your regular plebs aren't going to have a job. And of course, it's unfortunate whenever someone loses their job. especially right around Christmas time. But the idea that everyone's always attacking corporations as some like evil entity really just has to stop. Because the fact of the matter is, without Hasbro, without this corporation, without its almost 100 years in business, not only would the US economy be missing out on the $7 billion market cap of this company, the hundreds of millions of dollars in tax income that it provides, but you would also have over 6.5 thousand people that would never have even had a job to begin with, let alone still having one now. So again, I'm not trying to defend these companies, and I understand it's easy to go after like a big corporation, especially when they're publicly traded. But the fact of the matter is, this started off as two guys in 1923 and has grown to this massive corporation that is a net contributor to the US economy, GDP, and of course, all the other people who got a job there.
So I guess the point of me making this bummer video was to, yes, let people know that this is happening, because I don't think it's going to show up in a lot of YouTube videos. I could be wrong. And just really drill down on the fact that this was not a necessary change.
So now we're going to jump over here real quick and take a look at the Hasbro net earnings chart. And this is straight from Hasbro. So it's Hasbro net earnings from 2006 to 2022 in millions of US dollars. So we see in 2006, 230 million, 333 million, 306 million, in 2009, 374, 397, 385, 336 in 2012, 283, 413, 446, 533 in 2016, 396. We see a outlier kind of like weak year here in 2018 with 220. We see a massive jump in 2019 of 520, and then we drop off in 2020 at 225 million. A jump back up of 435 million in 2021. And then in 2022, we see net profits of $203 million. So this company has been around for 100 years. It's making on average somewhere from like 200 million to up over 500 million, but consistently somewhere around like the 300 million range. And if it wants to exist going forward into the future, it needs to maintain at least some level of profitability, even if it's not quite as good as it's been consistently through the last like 15 years that we have demonstrated here. So now we're going to jump back over here to the Hasbro financials, and we're taking a look at the income statement. And I basically have this broken down, so it's going to display a couple of key metrics for us. So it's set up in quarters right now. So we have quarter 1, 2022, Q2, Q3, and Q4. And then we have quarter 1 of 2023, quarter 2, quarter 3, and then we don't have quarter 4 yet because they haven't reported it. But if we look here at the metrics I have broken down, we can see on top is total revenue. Then we have cost of goods sold, operating expenses, excluding cost of goods sold, non-operating income total, and then net income. So basically just imagine you take the top number, you remove your 3 next lines of expenses, and then you're left over with your net income, aka your profits. So we see in Q1, total revenue was $1 billion. Cost of goods sold was half that, 500 million. Operating expenses were 483 million also, so there's your other half. And then the non-operating income total was 36 million, and that left us with a net income of negative 22 million. So in Q1 of 2023, Hasbro lost 22 million. So now we check out Q2 of 2023, and we see a total revenue of 1.2 billion, cost of goods sold 630 million, operating expenses 538 million, non-operating income minus 269 million, and that gave us a net loss of 235 million. So then for Q3, we see total revenue of 1.5 billion, cost of goods sold 687 million, operating expenses 510 million negative, non-operating income total of negative 520 million, and that gives us a total net income for Q3 of minus 171 million. So if we just add up Q1, Q2, and Q3 net income, we have a net negative of $428 million. So let me repeat that and break it down in case anyone doesn't understand. In the first 3 quarters of 2023, Hasbro lost $428 million. And if we look at Q4 for a year-over-year comp to give us a rough idea what we can expect for Q4 of 2023, the total revenue was 1.6 billion, cost of goods sold was 961 million, operating expenses were 853 million, non-operating income was minus 27 million, and that gave them a net income of minus 128 million. So if we see a comparable Q4 to last year, 2022's Q4, we can come down here and take a look at the trailing 12 months. And if we just scroll down, it's going to give us a net income for year-over-year growth of minus 557 million. So minus 557 million is basically minus $500 million. That means in the last 4 quarters of Hasbro doing business, they lost over $500 million.
And just really drill down on the fact that this was not a necessary change.
So actually, Bob, I think these cuts probably are necessary, because if this company goes on losing $557 million per year, and we just jump back over here to the market cap, which is $7 billion, this 100-year-old company is not going to exist. So it's obviously a bad thing that they cut 800 jobs and now another 1,100 jobs. But the fact of the matter is, there's 6,500 people working at this company. And if Hasbro doesn't exist, that's 6,500 people that don't have a job. So I get how it's easy to like demonize these big corporations and point at them and say how bad it is when they're making cuts or firing people. But the fact of the matter is, if they don't make changes like this company doesn't exist.
Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And it looks like Dungeons & Dragons is taking its place among the Hasbro family of products. Just like so many other Hasbro products, like Star Wars and Marvel, D&D is now going to rot away at Ollie's Bargain Outlet.
Yes.
So this is pretty interesting. I saw some stuff the other day. I did not realize that they did a huge buyout, I guess, of D&D stuff, and I have to wonder how the stuff is selling. I mean,
It's better than landfill.
I guess it's better than a landfill, but look, there's been a lot of talk about Hasbro overproducing Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering cards and all of that, and they kept assuring everybody that, well, D&D's fine. D&D's, really...
We didn't kill it.
We didn't kill it. We didn't kill D&D, but now we're finding a lot of D&D stuff languishing on the shelves at Ollie's, where it's going to sit there for years. Years. Just like Star Wars, just like Marvel, just like everything Hasbro touches. Basically, Ollie's is like the Hasbro discount outlet.
Yeah, but some of these sets are like $3.
Yeah, they're $40 sets. Well, the Warriors of Krynn board game was a $100 set.
$10.
$10.
So let's just jump back over here real quick and take a look at the actual Hasbro chart. So we can see it was publicly traded going back to 1971. It bottomed out here in 1974 at like 2 cents. And then since then has went absolutely parabolic. It peaked and met an all-time high in July of 2019 at $126. And if we just look at that $126 all-time high and we look at its current price right now, which is $50, it's down 60%. So you have lost 60% of your money from the all-time high. And then if we just zoom in here a little bit and take a look at January of 2023, and again, we just use our measuring tool. From January 2023 to today, Hasbro is down 17.57%. So again, I'm not defending big corporations, and obviously people losing their jobs are terrible, especially around the holidays. But the fact of the matter is, Hasbro needs to make some serious changes, or literally this company doesn't exist, because they cannot go on losing $500 million or $500 million per year. It's just not sustainable. A matter of fact, it's not even sustainable to do it one time, let alone consistently. So while I completely understand how people are passionate about gaming or like these various brands that they have grown up with, it's very important to understand that underneath Hasbro is Transformers and Nerf and My Little Pony, and under that banner is Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. But the fact of the matter is, they are on track to lose over $500 million in 2023. And if they don't course correct, regardless of how much we love Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering, how iconic Transformers, Nerf, or My Little Pony are, if they don't do something, they go bankrupt. So I guess I just wanted to kind of give some actual perspective based on the numbers. It's really easy to like demonize these companies. There was obviously a big scandal this year with the OGL and the Magic the Gathering anniversary. There was all kinds of drama with like Dungeons and Dragons movie. And it's easy to put out articles and blame it on declining toy sales or point at a CEO's like massive $10 million compensation. And I'm not saying that none of those things are a factor. I'm not saying that Hasbro is good guys or anything like that. If they continue on their current path, they don't exist a couple years from now. Now, I'm sure somebody else would come in and swoop up these iconic brands for pennies on the dollar, and maybe they could do a better job with them. There's definitely some intellectual property here, and I don't doubt that replacing the current CEO or making sure that his compensation is based on actual success of the company is a good idea. But again, I think it's very important that we actually take these things into perspective and look at it from a business standpoint. So it's easy to point at the Hasbro iceberg and see what's above the surface, but you really got to look at what's under the surface, because that's where the majority of the actual important information is. And if they don't make the correct changes, this iconic brand, they're not going to exist in the future for our kids or generations to come. So let me know what you guys think down below. Obviously, a lot of work goes into these videos. I'm going to leave links to all the individual videos that I showed clips from in here as well. Special thanks to all those creators for bringing this to the spotlight. They're all substantially bigger than my channel is. If you did find some value in this video, make sure to like and subscribe to the video, as it really helps out with growth. Share it with your friends. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. Do you enjoy this type of video where I break down the financials? Are corporations just evil and you don't care about the numbers or facts? Let me know down below. And as always, special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. And I think this one really hits home because I love Magic the Gathering and D&D. I grew up with all of these iconic names like Nerf and Transformers. Not quite as much My Little Pony, but you guys know I'm a massive Warhammer fan and spend a lot of time talking about and analyzing Games Workshop. And the fact of the matter is, you make enough bad decisions and your 100-year-old company that's worth billions of dollars can end up in a tough spot. So I know Games Workshop is listening and they better take note. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video.